The tropics are active with 6 systems that we have to watch over the next few days, and we have an excessive heat wave with heat indexes up to 125 degrees across the middle of the country over the next few days, but relief is on the way, and we preview September's forecast as well later on in today's video. Before we get into the forecast, make sure if you are not a subscriber to the channel to hit the subscribe button down below. I cover all of North America, including Southern Canada, the United States, and the tropics on this channel, and it's very important to press the like button, the thumbs up button down below the video, as it helps to get all of this weather information out to as many people as possible. It also helps to press the share button and share this with friends, family, and on social media as well to get the word out. So let's get into the forecast here. This is Tropical Storm Franklin that is just moving to the north of the Dominican Republic. That did bring a lot of heavy rain to the island there of the Dominican Republic over the last couple of days. That is now pressing northward and now over the open waters of the Western Atlantic. And you do notice the sea surface temperature anomalies are well above average here across all of the Western Atlantic, the Caribbean, and even the Gulf for that matter. So as this storm moves over the warmer waters, you guessed it, it's going to start to strengthen. And it's going to strengthen back to a hurricane here up to around a Cat 1. Even some models bullish on getting it to a Category 2 hurricane over the next few days. So we're going to continue to watch this for the Bermuda as it starts to push further off to the north. And looking at this, there's Bermuda, and it's just to the west of Bermuda as a Category 1 and possibly even a Category 2 hurricane over the next couple of days as we get into early next week. So we're going to have to watch for Bermuda here especially, but even the United States near the southeast coast here for some stronger waves, some rip currents as well. So tracking Hurricane Franklin, or soon to become Hurricane Franklin here today, that's moving to the north of the Dominican Republic here, continues to slowly meander over the warmer waters, dropping to a 991 millibar low this weekend, and then early next week it really drops out here to a 973 millibar low as it moves just to the west of Bermuda, and it's close enough to the southeast coast, the Carolinas, coastal Georgia, and coastal Florida here, where we have to be watching out, especially late this weekend and even into early next week, that Monday, Tuesday time frame, for some rip currents here and some stronger waves. You can see those wave heights are about 5 to 7 feet, not too far off the coast there of Florida or the Carolinas. So we're going to have to watch that as we go into early next week. Looking at the rest of the North Atlantic, we have a couple of fish storms that we're not really going to talk about because they're not going to be affecting land, but these could be named over the North Atlantic over the next couple of days. The storm I'm keeping an eye on that could develop is back over here across portions of the Gulf of Mexico. And you can see the North Atlantic is very busy, lots of tropical waves moving off of Africa here. But like I said, the wave I'm keeping an eye on is over the Central Americas right now. This is going to be moving up toward the Yucatan and then up into portions here of the eastern Gulf of Mexico over the next 7 days. And this has a 50% chance, a flip of a coin, of developing as we get closer towards next week. So looking at this, the European forecast model late this weekend, this is on Sunday, August 27th, lowering of the pressures, probably just a weak tropical wave, maybe a tropical depression here, depending on where the position of that low is, especially if it's over the warmer waters. You could probably bet on a tropical depression by Sunday. That does strengthen on the European forecast model to a strong tropical storm as it approaches the Naples region, Tampa Bay, and even portions of the Fort Myers, Florida area on Tuesday, August 29th. This is the stronger solution that I have looked at. Looking at the Canadian model, it's still a tropical storm or a stronger depression, but it's over the northern peninsula there of Florida. So it's a little bit displaced off to the north and east, still the same time frame on Tuesday. And the Icon model actually is a lot weaker, making it more of a depression, but on the eastern side of Florida. So there's discrepancy in the track of the system, where it ultimately ends up, and also the strength of the system over the next few days. And we will keep an eye on it as we go through the weekend. But looking at the next couple of names in the Atlantic Ocean, the next name up is Idalia, and also after that is Jose. So we're going to continue to watch that across the Atlantic Ocean. It's also busy in the Eastern Pacific as well. We have a high probability of systems developing over the next 7 days, a 70 to 80% chance respectively here of development, with the one more concerning here closer to the Mexico coast. The westernmost system that could develop will not really affect any land and be a fish storm here for the Eastern Pacific Ocean. Looking at the sea surface temperature anomalies in the Eastern Pacific, you see we have a lot of upwelling from bigger systems that have been traversing across this area recently. So we do have some warmer waters, but they are a little cooler as well. So we're going to continue to watch this, and this could play a role in the strength of the system near the Mexico coast, with the cooler anomalies starting to shape up here into the Eastern Pacific. And I'm going to show you that right now. So here on Friday, this is tomorrow, you see lowering of the pressures here in the Eastern Pacific, and by the time we get to this weekend, it's only a tropical depression here as it approaches the Mexico coast, but it is going to be bringing some heavy rainfall, possibly some flash flooding here near the coast of Mexico on Saturday into Sunday, and then early next week it really doesn't get going too much. Remember, those upwelling in those cooler waters that we've seen a lot of those storms traverse the Eastern Pacific recently is going to play that vital role in not really making this a big system, and it really doesn't have that much residence time over the warmer waters either. So I think this is going to be more of a rain system, but it will be producing some decent rains for central and southern Mexico. You can see the rainfall amounts here. This is in millimeters, but you can expect a few inches of rain in total from now through Tuesday, even that Wednesday time frame on August 29th and 30th here across southwestern and southern Mexico here, and are up to 100 millimeters of accumulation here. So definitely seeing some flash flooding concerns there for Mexico. The next two names on the list for the Eastern Pacific Ocean are Irwin and Java. So we're going to continue to watch that over the next couple of days. Back here to home, we are talking heat. So we have excessive heat warnings all in the pink here, and this covers multiple states from the Midwest down to the middle and lower Mississippi Valley. Even some red flag warnings there from around the Tyler, Texas region through Shreveport and Lake Charles, Louisiana, with dry soils, windy conditions, and also we have the heat out there as well. So that is causing some red flag fire weather concerns. Looking at the geopotential height, this is where you see the building heights as we go into today. The maroon reds is essentially where the center of the high pressure system is this afternoon. As we go into the weekend, you see it starts to slowly weaken, and it also starts to meander further off to the south and west, back into its home place of where we've seen it all summer long, back into the southern plains yet again on Saturday and Sunday. And looking at these heat index values, so this afternoon it's going to be another scorcher of a day. We are up to 114 up here near the Rockford, Illinois region here in northern Illinois, 111 in Des Moines, 109 in Kansas City, and 113 all told in the St. Louis region. And you get the story. It's much of the same further to the south into the lower Mississippi Valley this afternoon. Going into Friday, we start to see the northern periphery of that breakdown. So we're still hot up here in the Midwest, but not triple-digit heat for the most part. We're back to the 90s with the heat index. We squished those 100-degree heat index values further to the south on Friday. Going into Saturday, we do the same. We move it a little bit further down to the south by 100, 200 miles or so on Saturday, and we do the same again on Sunday. So day by day, we're going to be breaking down the heat as we go into this weekend. And look at by Sunday, folks, the Midwest, yeah, we're back to spring-like weather with temperatures in the 70s and 80s, with heat indexes more in control as we go in toward that Sunday time frame. Looking here early next week on Monday, Tuesday, we see a nice trough developing here over southeastern Canada, and that's going to have an influence on the upper Midwest and the Ohio Valley, even the Northeast, like we've seen all season long. And the heat's going to back off to the west here once again. So areas in the Rockies, the desert Southwest, the southern plains, we will remain very hot getting in through much of next week. And you can see that here on Monday. We have the triple-digit heat indexes from Texas all the way to the Carolinas and Florida here, but it's nice and cool up here with spring-like temperatures across across the Midwest, the Great Lakes, the Ohio Valley, the Northeast, and even some extent the Central Plains as well. It's not going to be too bad shaping up into Kansas or the Missouri Ozarks either. And then as we go into Tuesday, that's just a step down further to the south and mainly just a Gulf Coast story with the heat as we go into Tuesday. Much cooler weather to the north and starting to heat up across the west toward the middle of next week. Remember the difference between heat exhaustion and heat stroke. This is a major difference here. If you have any of the symptoms listed here for heat exhaustion, make sure to get into a cooler place, drink plenty of fluids, especially water. If you see any of these symptoms for a heat stroke, confusion, dizziness, or somebody becomes unconscious, call 911 immediately. Move the person to a cooler area and also apply with water or ice because that is an emergency. So make sure you're looking out for those symptoms. Make sure to stay cool, stay hydrated, and stay informed on the heat over the next few days. Looking at the heat, as it breaks down, we're going to start to see severe weather chances come back into play here. Now, we're not talking about a severe weather outbreak by any means, but a slight risk of severe weather here from the lower Michigan through northeast Indiana, northern Ohio, parts of western New York State, and northwestern Pennsylvania, essentially from the Kalamazoo region through Detroit, getting into portions of Toledo there and into Pittsburgh. We'll be keeping an eye on some 60-mile-per-hour winds, some quarter-size hail, and possibly a couple of tornadoes, a couple stronger storms up near the Dakotas, northwestern Minnesota, and even northwest Nebraska we'll have to watch later on today. That all sinks to the south as we go into tomorrow along the front, the northern periphery of that ridge as it breaks down. Some 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts, some quarter-size hail will be the main mode of severe weather. One or two of those storms could become severe there from northern Kansas and southern Nebraska eastward to the Carolinas and the Delmarva region on Friday. Looking at the total rainfall accumulation now through Thursday, this takes you through the rest of August here through Thursday, August 31st, and you see the heaviest of the rains will be influenced by the tropics across the East Coast. So from Maine to Florida, we could be seeing a couple inches of rain over the next 7 days. Some rainfall across the middle of the country, but where the heat backs off to the west, we're going to see sinking air, lots of sunshine, lots of heat again across the west and the northern plains, and that's going to remain dry across those regions. Also very dry as well down toward the Red River here, Oklahoma, Texas, and even down toward the Rio Grande Valley as we go through the next 7 days. And taking an early preview at September, now my September forecast will be out here in just about a week and a half, but this is the Climate Forecasting Systems version 2 model. Does fairly well throughout the season here, and looking forward to the next month of September. It's hard to believe we are just a few weeks away from fall. This is the temperature anomaly here for that month, and you can see we're going to continue to see the heat or well above average temperatures as we go into September. And again, that is going to be centered across the southern plains and the Dixie Valley region. And at times that heat could build up into the upper Midwest as well. And looking at that, with the heat building to the south, it's going to remain dry largely across the Gulf Coast here, the Tennessee Valley, the southern plains as we go through September, unless we have a tropical system. But I think more of the tropical systems at this point will be starting to move into the western Atlantic rather than the Gulf of Mexico into September. The active pattern, of course, will be across the northern periphery of that ridge, southern Canada, the northern plains, the upper Midwest, into at times the Great Lakes region through September. I will have a much more detailed breakdown on the September forecast in my next video tomorrow. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching today's video. Make sure that you like the video down below, hit the subscribe button, also leave any comments, questions, and concerns below. Also, if you want additional weather forecast updates here, hit the description down below the video. The link to Twitter or X is down there, HWeather420. I do appreciate that. I do update on that platform fairly frequently. Otherwise, share this video with friends, family, and on social media, and I hope everybody has a great rest of their Thursday out there.